We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a podcast where we dive deep into the world of music and uncover the stories behind your favourite songs and artists. I'm your host, Simon Fink, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. Our guest on the podcast is UK pop singer and songwriter Griff. Known offstage as Sarah Faith Griffiths, she's making waves this week with the release of her stunning and highly anticipated debut record titled Vertigo. Griff has collaborated with the likes of Chris Martin and has shared the stage with global superstars like Taylor Swift and Dua Lipa. Today, she joins us on this podcast to talk about everything Vertigo. In today's episode, we delve into the songwriting across this debut record and how the process can sometimes mirror the anxiety of a hangover. We discuss her early introduction to music and her journey into music production as a child. We also chat about her experience supporting Taylor Swift on the Eras Tour and her upcoming Australian tour dates in August. Now, we want to say a massive thank you to Thomas for his help and remind our listeners to grab Griff's new album, Vertigo, purchase tickets to her Australian shows, and if you can, subscribe to this very podcast. Details for all can be found in today's show notes. Also, don't forget to check out our brand new website for more content and updates on the podcast. Details, once again, are in the show notes. But let's not waste any more time. Here is our conversation with Griff. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Griff. Hello, friend. How are we?
Thanks for having me.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on what I can only imagine is a incredibly fun, exciting, nerve-wracking, crazy time for yourself at the moment.
Nerve-wracking definitely stands out to me as like how I feel. Yeah, but no, it's an exciting time. Yeah.
There is a brand new debut record coming out from yourself later this week. Highly anticipated, I want to say. I know that there's a lot of people kind of itching to get their hands on this record and be able to kind of hear all of these tracks. I know we just kind of mentioned it then. In terms of the multitude of feelings, I also imagine that there's a number of them that are on the positive end of the spectrum as well, as in like proud and a lot of love I imagine that you're going to be receiving for this. In terms of putting this out, how are you feeling in, I guess in terms of what's going on with finally being able to release Vertigo?
Yeah, I feel relieved. I think I'm going to feel relief soon. I've been sitting on some of these songs for so long, and like it was the first time I really had to ever make like an album, and I think that process was like, it was a lot. And there got to a point, I think, in the process where I just had to like decide for myself what songs I loved and what meant a lot to me and what I wanted to finish. And it's a lot. It's like no one really schools you on how to do it, on how to make a record. So I'm definitely relieved it's done and it's going to be out in the world. And yeah, I hope people like it.
Look, I have no doubt in my mind that people are going to love this record. You've done an absolutely gorgeous record. It is stunning. Vertigo, the debut record. We were very lucky enough to have a listen to it before it has come out. So thank you very much for that. It is, it was just a gorgeous way to spend an afternoon with some absolutely brilliant pop songwriting.
Oh, that means a lot. That's what I hope people say when they hear it.
I know that for yourself previously, a lot of the songwriting, a lot of the creation came from and I know that the term is overused, so I apologize if you've probably heard this throughout the press cycle for this record, is bedroom pop producer and like doing a lot of production in your bedroom or in your own kind of personal space. For Vertigo, was that kind of the same this time around, or was that the foundations were maybe laid in your own personal space and then being able to flesh them out in a studio?
Yeah, no, I quite like the term bedroom pop. I think it's great. I would say this is maybe like, to be very literal, like Airbnb pop. I kind of in between all the touring that I was doing. Again, I always envisioned that for my first album, I'd be able to like hire out a big studio and spend it like 6 months there and make it or something. But the reality, I think, of now being an artist is that you do so many things in tandem with each other. So it was like I was touring at the same time as writing. So in between the tours, I would like book an Airbnb and take myself and like convert different living rooms and kitchens into studios. And that's kind of how all the songs have been made. So yeah, but it's definitely been still a similar style of me sitting down with Logic and my MIDI keyboard and a piano and guitar, figuring out what songs I want to write. So yeah.
I love that. For you, a lot of the touring that you've been doing in the last number of years, you've obviously had your own shows, but I believe that there's been quite a number of high-profile gigs. There was touring with Coldplay, Dua Lipa. I want to get to the person that you're touring with later this week in a little bit. But did you find that, I guess, those environments and those kind of stages influenced the sound that you were creating in terms of those are some pretty big stages? And I wonder, did you find yourself wanting to make music that kind of was appropriate or set that same similar tone?
Yeah, I definitely think there was something... already when I was making the album, I knew that there was a bit of a journey, which is why I wanted to release them in volumes. It was like these super insular songs like Vertigo and Astronaut. And then I knew that there was a euphoric sound that I loved making. And maybe, I do think maybe touring in stadiums kind of fed into those like euphoric songs. Like, for example, Tears for Fun is like, I do think by the point I'd written that, I'd done stadiums and I was like, I just want to, that the electricity of writing big stadium songs, there's nothing like it. So maybe, I don't know if it was like conscious, like I want to write a stadium song today, but I think it definitely subconsciously maybe influenced like my melodies and the way I was writing songs. So yeah, you can't help but feel very inspired from like touring in those kind of venues for sure.
I love that. I was actually hoping to bring up Tears for Fun a little bit later because usually we kind of, I want to say maybe a little bit selfishly ask like about our favourite track on the record. And Tears for Fun is this gorgeous track that's on the second half of the record, and it is euphoric is probably a very good word to use. It is this pop track that just kind of builds and builds. The energy in it is beautiful. It obviously does have somewhat sad lyrical subject matter from an outsider's perspective, but I was wondering if you could, I guess, walk us through the creation of Tears for Fun or where that song kind of came from.
Yeah, I think it's actually the last song I wrote for the album. I thought I had written all the songs that there were to be written, and then I went to Sweden to write. And yeah, it just kind of happened. But I think we spent a lot of time on the production as well, and I wanted it to feel like organic, but also like big. And yeah, the lyrics, the concept to me is like, it's almost like a conversation with like yourself or with God, being like, well, is it always going to be this way? Like, it feels like at this point, I'm just like collecting tears for fun. Like, it feels like I'm like walking myself into heartbreak. And so it's almost like a burst, and like it's like a build up of tension, and by the end it like goes mental, and there's like these sirens that are like going throughout the outro of it, and it's like a complete explosion, I think. So yeah, I love that song. I think it's good that it makes sense that it came at the end, after all the touring and after all the writing, you know.
It is a stunning pop track. So thank you very much for kind of indulging me and allowing me to ask about it. Is that kind of your standard process for when you're writing, in terms of like having like a little melody line or idea or lyric writing? Like, what does that usually kind of look like for when you've got the rough catalyst for an idea in your head?
I usually like, my notes phone will be filled with lots of random words, just so that like when I'm in a session or when I sit down to write, I've got like a bank of stuff to come to. Because like for me, melodies, that's like the easy part for me. Like the most enjoyable and the easy. Like if you just give me some chords, I could try and sing you like 50 different songs for an hour. If you just leave me running, I'll just keep singing. But it's like lyrics that then I come to and I'm like, right, what am I saying? And like, how am I saying something maybe new or interesting? So then my notes app is maybe my best friend for that. And then production, just for this album, has taken a lot of time. And I don't know why. I think I've been very indecisive and I've learned a lot that a lot of this is just about making decisions and like sticking to things. But I've been so confused and back and forth at times about what I'm doing and whether I like things. And I think especially when you're writing and you're producing it, you're so close to it, you lose perspective. So I think there's been so many versions of all of these songs. But yeah, that's usually the process. Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Do you find, because you do have those technical skills of logic and being a producer behind the scenes, do you then find that makes you maybe somewhat more, well, I think inside any songwriter, any artist, any lyricist, there has to be an element of control freak, but I know that term can sometimes be a little bit funny. Do you find that with yourself, that there are so many versions because you want to get the perfection of the song, like the right way?
Yeah, definitely. Because also like the way I feel changes all the time. And I'm so highly critical of my own work. And like, I kind of compare like listening to a song after you've made it like anxiety, like, you know, when you've had a big night out and you're like, what the hell did I do last night? That's kind of how it feels. Like I can have like a really like explosive, interesting night in the studio, and then like when I come back to listen to the bounce and I click on it, I'm like, oh God, what did I write? Or like, what did we put down in the track? And sometimes you listen to a song, you're like, I love it. And then sometimes you listen, you're like, the snare's way too loud. And like that process for me is like constant. And even now, I think if I listen to the album, I'll hear so many things that I'm like, oh, I should have done that, or I should have done this. So yeah, it just doesn't really end. It's quite like torturous in that way. Yeah.
We've been doing this podcast now, Griff, for maybe, I think, about 350 episodes, and no one has articulated that feeling or like related it to anxiety, but I don't think there is a more perfect kind of reference for that. So that is absolutely brilliant.
I feel like you've had an amazing time the night before, and then you're like, oh my word, do these lyrics even make sense? Yeah.
I absolutely love that. I was wondering, we are like primarily a songwriting podcast. I was wondering if you might be able to talk us through like your introduction to songwriting, your first experiences. I know we might not get a taste of, I believe the first song was Target, but if you could tell us anything in relation to your first song.
First songwriting. I don't know. I was always making things up. I remember like being like a toddler and like singing and making up a song, and then my mum being like, oh, what are you singing? And I was like, I learned it in nursery. Like, well, obviously I didn't. I was just like making it up, but I was too embarrassed. I was probably only like 3 or 4. But I think I started by like covering songs, and I'd always just Google chords. I was hopeless at like, my mum tried to do like stereotypical Asian mum, like be grade 8 by the time you're 5. And I just wasn't technical in any sense. So I just like, even though I had some classical lessons, I just wanted to like Google the chords of songs that I liked. So that was maybe my introduction to just like singing. And then I figured out that all pop songs were over 4 chords. So I was like, sick, I can basically play anything now. And then I guess that was like a bit of a gateway into writing songs. It was actually like, you know, there's something that we all learn on piano. It's like dum da dum da dum da dum da dum da dum da dum. I can't remember.
Yeah, I know the song you're talking about.
My friend taught me that, and then I realised that was just like dum 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 was just broken up chords of like C, G, F, and A minor, and that all pop songs were made in that. And then from that point, I was just like writing a lot of songs, and I'd come back from school and sit down on the piano, and then like in tandem, my brother had Logic, so then I would like jump on there, and I wanted to like record my vocals and stack harmonies, and like we kind of had a bit of a sheltered upbringing. Like we weren't really allowed to watch TV in the week and stuff, and I was the only girl, so it was more just like a pastime thing of like, this is fun, I can just like do this after school, and that's kind of how it evolved from there. Yeah.
I know in preparation for today, doing some, I guess, reading and listening to previous interviews you've done, one thing that you raised, I think, in the last 6 months in a different interview was the fact that when you were younger, or when anyone's younger, that we do have a lot of time on our hands, and that it that kind of played into the ability to be able to muck around and try all these things. Do you think that, I guess, having that upbringing and allowing to do that is what gave you that confidence to be able to, I guess, produce and mess with things and not follow such a maybe a traditional structure that other people find?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think like the time is a big thing. I think just having those, like having instruments in the house combined with like, not really like, again, I think we like, looking back as a kid, you don't really know, like, you kind of think your childhood's cool. Now as an adult, I look back, it's not like we were super poor or anything, but like we weren't like a flashy family. We didn't have loads of stuff. We couldn't afford to go on holidays. There was loads of things that we, now looking back, I'm like, oh, we actually didn't have a lot. And so like, I guess as a kid, maybe with a little less privilege in that sense, you just become a bit more resourceful with like how you have fun. So it's not like we've got the latest like or it's not like my mum's sending me to like all of these like horse riding lessons or anything. It was just like, you just kind of make fun from nothing. And so that's kind of what songwriting became for me. And I also think there is an element of, again, like, immigrant parents, it makes you a little bit more resourceful in your life. I watched my parents make a life for us out of nothing. And weirdly, I think that does influence your creativity, so yeah.
Was it your dad? I know that your dad has had some influence in terms of your career. Is he musically talented as well?
He's a really, really amazing singer. He never pursued it as a career. So he was more of like a function band singer. Now when I look back, he had like, there were musicians that would come because he would like sing at a wedding or something. And so yeah, he's a really good singer, but he never pursued it. So I think the fact that I'm pursuing it now is probably like quite satisfying for him. But yeah.
Has he, I imagine that there's quite a multitude of emotions for him seeing his daughter being able to kind of live the dream and do that. Has he made an appearance yet on is there like any Easter egg where maybe Mr. Griff or Senior Griff, I'm not sure what to refer to him as.
No, he's the original Griff. My mum always called my dad Griff, and then they were like, why the hell are you calling yourself that? So yeah, OG Griff.
The OG Griff. Is he kind of making an appearance on any of your songs, or is there any plan to maybe have him in the background of some kind of track in any capacity?
There's definitely no plan ever, no. I think I still revert to like, I don't know, the teenage girl, like, ugh, when like I think about that, because you're like, so like, no, you're my dad, go away. So yeah, there's no plan yet. Maybe one day.
Yeah,
I'm just going at it alone.
Yeah. From all accounts that I have heard, he did have the influence. Though I think he purchased or he put Fearless on the iPod Shuffle.
My cousin.
That you had.
Yeah.
It's your cousin. Okay, so I think I've misread that then.
He's no good.
Regardless, Taylor Swift did make it onto that iPod Shuffle. For you, what was that moment like? Because I think that was a somewhat defining then turn as well, if I've researched correctly, in terms of different pop music, and I guess having someone of a similar age and also female that is out there and doing music quite successfully.
Yeah, again, we didn't have many things, so even being handed down like not the latest, it was a hand-me-down iPod Shuffle or something, iPod Nano, was like, whoa, I've got like a gadget. And it was like a cousin that I'd never met before that I think he wanted to like impress us, so he like gave me this hand-me-down old iPod, and it just had that one album on it. But it was huge because my dad raised us on a lot more like soul and R&B, like black music, which was like amazing. And I think I got from that, I like really learned like what it is to have like soulful music and like emotive music. And then what the light bulb moment with like Taylor was more the simplicity of like chords and melody and storytelling. Yeah, from like a teenage girl perspective, it was like really interesting to me. So yeah.
100%. With full disclosure to anyone listening to this podcast, we are recording a little bit ahead of time, and you yourself, Griff, are opening for Taylor in a matter of days. I think 3 or 4 days, depending on the time difference that we are speaking on. How are you feeling about that? Because I imagine that's almost like a bit of a full circle moment.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel, if I'm honest. I feel a little bit like, try not to think about it because I'm going to get myself really nervous. I'm just kind of really excited. I think what's nice is that like I've done a lot of support now, so I think I know what to expect. And it's going to go by so quickly. It's only like a half an hour set. So yeah, I'm just trying not to overthink it too much. I've tasked myself with trying to make my dress for it. So I'm like maybe more stressed about my dress than I am about like the actual performance. Yeah, anyway, so we'll get there. It's going to be great.
This is something else I wanted to kind of touch on as well, was that, yeah, there's this other element of creativity that you kind of have. I think you studied textiles at uni?
That's school, yeah. Cool. I didn't make it to uni.
Apologies. I guess, how does that play into your songwriting or your music? Are there times where you kind of are able to see these other elements of things that might be played out? I know some people that we've spoken to, when they're writing a song or recording it, they can already kind of see the music video in their mind or in their head. Is that a similar thing for you, where you're able to piece together or at least make some form of connection between it might be a certain track and some kind of outfit or other kind of creative piece?
Yeah, I think when you write, I always do. I do definitely, like, I think there's an element of like cinematicness in the album, which I think I maybe was seeing when I was writing. When it comes to clothes, yeah, I don't like write seeing clothes, if that makes sense, but I do like think about clothes a lot and how I want them to look and how I want that to portray what I do. So yeah, it is a bit of an extension of just my need to like make stuff and be a bit of a control freak. And I also find it fun, like with this dress that I'm gonna make, again, the tenses are gonna be all messed up because I don't know when this is coming out, but I just love Daddy, I Love Him on Torture Poets Department, and the opening lyric is like running with my dress unbuttoned, and I love this idea of like a deconstructed dress that like it's completely unbuttoned and like flowing. So that's kind of what I'm like inspired by and trying to make. So yeah, I guess I do get inspired. Yeah.
Look, absolutely love that. Very excited to see how the performance goes at the Eras Tour. And I'm sure, again, fingers, toes crossed, but no, you're absolutely going to kill it. By the time this does come out, there will be a few weeks you'll be visiting us back in Australia. I had the great pleasure of seeing you play in Adelaide while you were here over the summer, or our summer, which just absolutely loved it. And you are coming back for a run of dates. Yes. I know it's probably somewhat generic, but like, what can Australian fans expect from these shows?
Yeah, everyone needs to get tickets and come, because this is my first Australia tour. Shameless plug. I think, what can we expect? I think like with my shows, I want them to be euphoric. I want everyone to be singing the songs so loud that it feels like we've left all our demons in the venue by the time we've left. And that's mainly it. I think for me, the songs exist in one sense on streaming and on the record is one thing, and then taking them live, to me, they like have a whole new life. So I'm mainly just really excited to play this album live. I think I'm just going to have a lot of fun, and I hope people really connect with it too. So yeah.
As I said, like an incredible live show that we saw in January. So very excited that you're coming back. We'll make sure all ticket details are in the podcast so that people can purchase them. Myself and my wife will be heading over to Melbourne to try and catch you. So very excited about that.
Yes.
Is there a song that you haven't debuted yet that you are kind of looking at giving the live treatment to?
I'm excited for, I'm just remembering all my songs. Hiding Alone, I'm very excited for. It's very feel good. It's got a lot of groove to it. I've also got an amazing drummer who, like, every time I get off stage, everyone's like, yeah, your show is really good, but your drummer's like insane. But because I'm always facing the audience, I can never see what he's doing. So to this day, I'm not actually sure how much he gets up to back there, but I know that he's going to have a lot of fun playing Hiding Alone. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Look, this whole album is incredible and just such a stunning piece of pop work. So very excited to hear a number of these tracks live. As I said, Tears for Fun, I think another one that's going to just absolutely crush it in the live setting. So yeah, very excited. Lastly, Griff, we usually ask our guests what they're currently listening to. Is there something at the moment that's on high rotation for yourself?
Okay, can I check my Spotify?
Yeah, of course.
There's an artist in London called Berwin. He actually was on one of the latest like Vertigo tracks, who I think is amazing. Obviously listening to Chapel Rowan, aren't we all? Adriana Lenka, her latest album is like a really beautiful folky record.
Yeah.
And McGee, he's like yeah, he's really cool. He's played with Dijon a lot as well, and that Dijon album is amazing. So it's kind of an extension of that world. So that's what's on my playlist at the moment.
A very eclectic kind of mix of tracks. Some really nice. I'm not sure if you can see behind me. There's some Chapel Roan up there.
Yeah, no, I was looking at records. Really good selection.
Thank you. But then, mixed in with Mickey and Adrian Lenker as well. Just the gamut of kind of different songwriting styles and emotions that you feel, but incredible selection. So thank you very much for sharing that.
When you share that, you're like, am I going to come across super cool or like super wanky? I don't know.
10 out of 10 cool today. Well done. Griff, thank you very much for coming onto the podcast today and coming to chat to us about Vertigo, the debut record from yourself. It is out later this week, and we'll make sure people are able to purchase the record and buy tickets to your shows in Australia within the show notes. But thank you so much for coming on.
Having me, this was fun.